Hey everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. We are live here on Wednesday morning. Thanks so much for everyone who's joined us today. Do get your thoughts, questions, comments, anything you want to talk about in the chat. We'll get through as many of them as we can throughout the course of the show. We are going to start by talking about Dominik Szoboszlai and a report from a good friend of the show, our JNO Insight regular, Mr. Paul Gorst of the Liverpool Echo. Writing in the Echo, Paul Gorst has been talking about Szobo's contract. And it looks like, while it's not a done deal yet, potentially good news along the way. In Paul's story, he's talking about Szoboszlai getting back early for training, wanting to be the example for all the new players, maybe the younger players as well. Obviously, maybe there's a bit of a leadership void at Liverpool with the vice-captain leaving and, you know, Mo Salah leaving as well, and Szobo wants to be part of that new leadership group, it seems, which is good news. And he goes on to write, it is understood that Szoboszlai remains in talks over a new deal at Anfield, with the 25-year-old midfielder keen to commit his best years to the club, having settled in the northwest with his wife Borka and their young daughter. Negotiations are yet to reach a breakthrough, and the fate of Ibu Konate, who walked away as a free agent to Real Madrid, might be enough to unsettle supporters, but there's a determination on both sides to extend the agreement that began 3 years ago. So, nothing's done and dusted yet, but the talks are happening, and it appears from both sides that Liverpool are keen to keep ties. So, like that, obviously, and most importantly, Szobo, it appears, is happy and wants to stay. So, Liverpool signed Ryan Gravenberch at the same time as they signed Szoboszlai. He's got a new contract. Alexis McAllister hasn't, and I'm not sure, to be honest, if he is going to get one or not. I wouldn't be even surprised if he left this summer, for example. In terms of Szobo, I think that he's the most important one to get done next, and he's got 2 years left now going into this season and next season. Liverpool will not want to get to next summer in the same boat that they've been getting into with other players for a while now. We've just seen, as Paul just mentioned there, the Ibu Konate situation. It got to a point where he seemed happy to stay. It all seemed like it was going all right, but ultimately a deal couldn't get done, and Liverpool have just lost Ibu Konate for nothing, and now he plays for Real Madrid. And we've seen loads and loads of Liverpool players leaving for free or leaving on the cheap because their contract was running out. Curtis Jones is currently into the final year of his deal, and therefore Liverpool, by all accounts, can't get the asking price that they perhaps would have they think he's worth, given the contract situation. So really important, like I say, 2 years left to get the Szobo one done and dusted as soon as they can. My guess is, I mean, he must be in the mix for the next Liverpool captain. You know, Virgil again has got 1 year left, and we'll see if that gets extended further down the line. But if you were looking for the next captain of Liverpool, I mean, feel free, guys. Everyone who's watching me in the YouTube chat now, feel free. If you're watching or listening to this after the fact, please feel free to get in touch in the comments or socials or whatever. There aren't too many in terms of people who you think will be definitely could be the next captain of the football club. Actually, Ibu Konate might have been in that mix at one point. He is no longer here. Szobo, I mean, Curtis might have been in that mix. It looks like he might not be here for that much longer as well. Yeah, there are like plenty of options, are there? Alisson perhaps, but again, similar situation in terms of length of contract. I can't imagine Alisson's going to be here for a longer time. So for me, Szobo is the natural option to become maybe the next captain, as and when Virgil does leave the club. But for that to happen, he's got to sign a new contract. I know, again, maybe this was my fault because maybe I'm just perennially online, which is the job. It's part of the job. But every time you see Szobo on his contract and the talking around it, a lot of people go, well, he's going to leave us for nothing. You know, you can tell he wants to go to Real Madrid. You can tell he wants to, get off and explore pastures new, etc., etc. And maybe that is just because people have just seen this story play out a few too many times for the Reds. The good news is, from Paul's story, and obviously Paul speaking to the people he's speaking to in and around the Szobo camp, that he's happy here. It looks like he wants to stay. He likes living here. His family are settled. He plays every week. He was the best player last year. He's got a new manager. Things can go better, you'd presume, on the pitch. And yeah, that for me is the most telling news. It isn't like, oh yeah, Szobo is keen to have a look elsewhere. He's got his eyes elsewhere. The fact that he's happy to stay, I take a lot of joy in that. Again, whether it works out, I don't know. But yeah, do feel free. If you've got any other suggestions for who could be the next captain, if it isn't Szoboszlai, then yeah, feel free to let me know. Chundercat, I still have PSD from hearing Konate was keen to sign a new contract for 18 months. And you're absolutely right to bring that up, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. In that you can't, with Liverpool, unfortunately, you can't count your chickens before they hatch. And that's where we're at in this stage, because you're right, it did feel like Sobo wanted to stay and he was going to stay. And now, with Konate rather, it appeared it became a financial thing, in that Liverpool maybe didn't think he was worth what he was asking for. I think, unless Sobo's asking for something outrageous, the fact that he is, the best player last season, he is clearly in Liverpool's best 11. It would be hard for Liverpool to replace him. I think that maybe makes it slightly different in that, by all accounts, he did want to stay. Liverpool just didn't want to give him the money that he thought he was worth. I don't think that would be the case with Szoboszlai. I think they'll know what the valuation is, and I think they would be prepared to sign him down to that deal. But I ultimately do see your point, and TG says the same thing. Yeah, I saw the same headlines about Konate. Yeah, you're absolutely right to bring that up. It's a fair point. Fingers crossed this one plays out a little bit differently. F. Jamal, hello mate, says the new captain could be Jones if he signs a new deal. We're going to talk about Curtis in a moment. Absolutely an option. The thing with Jones, though, is he's not guaranteed to play, really. And that's his old issue, isn't he? That's why he might be leaving, because he wants to play every week. Sobo is going to play every week. So that's the difference there. Captain Scott says, no title or CL this season and Dom is off. We'll try and get the contract done beforehand, and then that won't be the case. Sean, securing Szoboszlai is massive. I think we are just seeing the beginning of him. You'd like to hope so, Sean. You would like to hope so. Last season was his best season by far. He was one of the very few positives that you could take out of Liverpool season, really. We did the player rankings grade show at the end of the season, and Sobo was the only one who I think was exceeded expectations. Perhaps everyone else was around about where you hoped they might be or below. It was actually Szoboszlai who was maybe above. Everyone else was at their usual levels or had a bit of an underperforming season. Rio and Gamo perhaps comes into that mix as well, where he had a better than expected season. Other than that, there wasn't too much. So you are right. Hopefully there is more to come. And actually, you what's the word? I'm kind of guessing a little bit because it's all projection, of course. It feels like Andoni Iraola's system and Andoni Iraola's style will suit Dominik Szoboszlai down to the ground. So I think you're right. Ilanatic says, I think Dom is worth the wages Ibu was asking for. 250 to 300k is fair for him. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? That's such an astronomical amount of money, and it's just blasé when you write it down or you say it on a show, but it's a ridiculous amount of money. But he is probably worth that. That's probably the bracket that he's in now. He's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. He deserves to be paid like one. So yeah, I think I would agree with you on that one. The RC history says, if Sobo was on the market, he's easily £130 million player. He's class. Our best goals video was a Sobo video. Yeah, you're not wrong. That's the point here. Liverpool, I'm sure Liverpool are keen to get this one done. I'm sure Szoboszlai is. So yeah, fingers crossed. Because what you don't want, like Draper says here, Draper, son, spaceman, nice name, thanks mate. Real Madrid are on, they will, yeah, they're waiting. If it gets to next summer and he hasn't signed one, all of a sudden, major question marks. This is the time you want to get contracts done. 2 years to go, get them extended, get them tied down to another 4 or 5 year deal. That's it, and then you cross this bridge again in 3 or 4 years' time. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was going to move on to Curtis Jones, but we have a question here again from Ishamal, who says, what are your thoughts on the Bajcetic photos? Is our Spanish destroyer back to take the league by storm? I hope so. I really do. Liverpool could do with another option in midfield. If, and it's a massive if, it's the biggest if of ifs in the history of ifs in terms of football. If Bajcetic is back to somewhere what we saw in his breakout year, that solves a lot of issues for Liverpool in terms of squad depth, in terms of ability, in terms of energy in the midfield, in terms of what we need. That was such a long time ago. He has barely kicked the ball for a couple of years. He's had loan spells that didn't work out particularly well. He's had injuries and reoccurrences of injuries. So the photos, it's good that he's out and about doing the... did he call it pre-activation work or whatever he was doing with some of the other lads who've been injured or not playing too much? I know Harvey Elliott was pictured as well and a few others, Jeremy Jacquet, Endo, etc. If Bajcetic is anywhere near something, he automatically becomes a viable squad option. He arguably has a case that he can get himself back in the team and get himself in that deep line role and make a competition in there for others. So really good to see him back hopefully available. Love to see him in pre-season and see where we go. We shouldn't forget the Bajcetic breakthrough when it came through. He was Liverpool's first choice in midfield in like Champions League games. Liverpool playing Real Madrid in the Champions League and Bajcetic is in the 11. That's how good he was and how excited we all were. The injury situation was a massive blow for him for effectively the best part of a couple of seasons now. So you're right, I was made up to see him back. But again, a lad running around the AXA doing a couple of runs around cones is a completely different story. Let's see how he reacts in the matches. But he could, in theory, be a massive option. Like a massive option. Right, let's see what else we've got. Scouse Will, does Federico stay? I'd love to see him get a fair crack that he deserves. My gut is no, Will. My gut is that he'll probably leave. Because I don't think he offers out wide what Iraola would want from his wingers, in that I think he's just a bit slow. And I think the idea will be to get pace out wide where we can. But he'll at least get given pre-season only for a while, and he might be able to make an impact. I hope he does. I listen, he's very likable. I love his song as well. And again, I am not adverse to Liverpool having one or two too many players in and around the squad. That's absolutely fine. The difference with Kaiser, of course, he's on a decent wage, a very good decent wage, and the homegrown quota thing. If Liverpool want to make signings, there has to be concessions in terms of that. But my gut instinct is I would be surprised if Kaiser was here next season. But I'm all for it. Again, if Iraola wants to have a little look at everyone and give everyone a clean slate, that's probably how it should be. Or sticking on the theme of midfielders perhaps and who might go and who might stay, it does bring us on actually to our next story. Thanks to the guys at This Is Anfield who've put this one together via sources from Italy. And it says Curtis Jones will be the subject of renewed efforts from Inter Milan after being knocked back by Liverpool, according to reports in Italy. The guys at This Is Anfield have translated it. They say, La Gazzetta dello Sport say Inter are set to restart negotiations as they return their focus onto Curtis Jones. The Italian outlet states that once the Serie A side have reached an agreement with Union Saint-Gilloise for the arrival of Israeli Khalili, apologies, Jones will be back on the agenda. Inter have never given up on the deal. So, yeah, again, the money last time was a joke. They wanted to pay somewhere around 20 odd million quid for Curtis. Liverpool just quite rightly knocked that back. That was just not going to be enough. So if Inter want him, yeah, I do believe. Listen, I think the asking price is pretty much well reported. Liverpool want something around £35 million for Curtis Jones. Are Inter willing to get even close to that? I don't know. Are other clubs willing to get close to that? Listen, if I was the manager or the sporting director of, I'm trying to think, maybe 10 to 15 Premier League clubs, and I had the chance to sign Curtis Jones for £35 million, I would do that deal immediately. I think he plays for most of a lot of the Premier League. I think he'd be a valuable asset to most of them. I would like Liverpool to keep him, and I would like them to sign him down to a new contract, but I understand, again, if he wants to be guaranteed the games and he wants to, all that kind of stuff. For Liverpool at this moment, I think Curtis is more an in and out. He's not guaranteed his place. Not that he can't get better and ultimately become that. But I would understand if he decides to go elsewhere and he wants to go and become a main man somewhere else. Like kind of like what Harry Wilson did at Fulham. Different, probably not nowhere near as in and out as Curtis in terms of he was very rarely in Harry Wilson, but he went and forged an amazing Premier League career for himself. International player, goals all over the shop. So he could absolutely do that. Curtis Jones, I think he's a class player. I'm not surprised Inter Milan want him. But when their bids, I'm just going to, they had a bid of around 17.5 million rejected and then around 21.5 million rejected. When they were both done and dusted and Liverpool kind of set the asking price, my guess was Inter were going to back away because they were miles away. At first, they were offering like 50% of what Liverpool wanted. So their valuation was clearly different. Maybe they were just trying on a little bit. maybe that's what it was. Are they willing to get anywhere close to what Liverpool are asking? It appears, according to these reports, that they might just well be doing so. So for me, I would like Curtis to stay. I would like him to sign a new contract on a decent wage and fight for a place in the team. If he isn't going to do that, then he has to be sold, I think, because you don't, again, and go back to the last story, you don't want to get to a point where you're losing Curtis for free next year. You might as well take the money now, but the money's got to be good enough. There will be a limit where you think, actually, I'd rather just keep him. £17 million a joke. You'd rather just have him for the season than 17 million quid. If it gets around the 30, 35, 40 million range, which Liverpool are asking for, I could see the logic in selling him. Illusions OG says no less than 50 million for Curtis. I think if his contract situation wasn't as bad, I think I would go along with that one. But Liverpool kind of might be forced into accepting a lesser amount. But the fact that Inter are back in for him, I think is quite telling for sure. I would love Liverpool to keep him around, but I get the sense he might be on his way. It feels like that one potentially could be happening further down the road. Maybe Liverpool just need to wait for a few weeks and there's players away and get them back and all kinds of stuff. We'll wait and see. Just Meme says, are we getting any players in this month? Honestly, relax. The impatience around transfers is something that I can't get my head around, really, to be honest with you. I think as long as the players are who Liverpool sign come in, I'd say by the end of July, I think I'm okay with that. The season doesn't start till 3 weeks into August. A lot of players, I'm guessing a lot of the players Liverpool would like to sign are good enough to be at the World Cup anyway, or they should be good enough to be at the World Cup. So I think it's all right. I think it'll be fine. I think, yes, I do think they will buy some players this month over the next couple of weeks. I think we can all, again, we live, and listen, I completely understand this. We're part of this. We're part of the fan media world. And you are constantly looking for new updates every single day. Sometimes there might just not be anything. And that doesn't mean nothing's happening. Victor Munoz, I was literally in my house about to go to bed, and out of nowhere, it wasn't Liverpool are interested in Victor Munoz. It was Liverpool signed Victor Munoz. So I understand there's a lot of scepticism sometimes around Liverpool and transfers. Look at last year, they got the deals that they wanted done. It was only the big one that took a long time, and that wasn't kind of Liverpool's fault. Newcastle just dug the heels in a little bit. I think it'll be sound. Now, are the players any good to go for? We'll find out. We'll find out in due course. That's the problem, but I think it'll be fine, mate. I do think it'll be fine. I wouldn't be worrying too much. The last story I want to talk about is the changes to Liverpool's fixture list for the start of the season. I'm sure you've seen it by now. So obviously we already know Liverpool's first game of the season is at Newcastle away. That was on TV. It has since been announced 3 more fixtures are being moved. Liverpool's first home game of the season now is a 12:30 kickoff against Nottingham Forest on Saturday, which I think is dreadful. And even more dreadful is that Liverpool go to Ipswich on Friday the 4th of September. That is bananas. And then Liverpool, Andoni Iraola's return to Bournemouth is 2 p.m. on Sunday. That's miles away, but you can accept the fact that it's a weekend. The first home game being a 12:30 kickoff, I think is crap. I think in terms of atmosphere and stuff like that, I think it's rubbish. And against the side who, by the way, famously just try and dull the boring shit out of us. And I've to be honest, at Anfield, I've had our number a couple of times now, haven't they? Liverpool Nottingham Forest one. The Ipswich away ones are just a farce, an absolute farce. Friday night, it's so far away. Like, you're basically telling supporters you need to be... If you want to go to Ipswich away, tough shit, you've got to book the week off work. You've got to book the day off work. Nothing else you can do. It's impossible to get there otherwise. It is absolute absurd. Book the day off on the Friday, and by the way, the game is going to end at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, and then get yourself home. You'll be getting home for breakfast. You might get to your house at the same time as the milkman or the paper delivery boy, if you still have one of those. Just the inability to even think of supporters when they make these decisions is absolutely laughable. I quite like Friday night football as a concept. I don't think it would be that hard to look at the fixture list if you're in the Premier League and go, which of these cities or towns are close to each other? Can we do that, please? There are about 100 London teams. Let them play each other on Friday night where it's not too bad. People can just jump on the tube after work and go to the match. Let Liverpool, you know, if it's going to be someone a little bit closer, someone within an hour or two, you know, the fact that this is a thing is just absolutely bananas. But like El Dodge says, TV and money dictates everything in football. It is no shock, really. Yeah, you're right. It is. It is all about that. You're right, mate. And like I say, I understand the value of Friday night football. I think it's fine. I think it's a good product, and I understand the Premier League wanting to tap into that particular window. It's a really good window to make money from, and you can get some really good games on it. I think asking Liverpool, and I'd say the same way, by the way, if it was Ipswich coming to Anfield, I'd be like, mate, that's a bit shit. Sometimes you half accept it. If there's a midweek fixture, when there's a whole round of midweek fixtures, you kind of have to bite the bullet. If there's a cup draw, it is what it is. I kind of get it. This feels unnecessary. It didn't need to be done. But yeah, that is what they've done. In terms of Liverpool, actually, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Does it make it more difficult for those games in terms of actually winning those games? Forest on a Saturday, I would much prefer that to be a bit later in the day. I'm never a big fan of the atmosphere around 12:30. Now, it might be different. First home game, new manager, couple of new transfers, potentially, hopefully as well. It might be a bit different. Ipswich for them, back in the Premier League, their first home game, one of their first home games, a massive game against Liverpool on a Friday. I think that's an advantage for them in terms of the atmosphere in and around what Portman Road's going to be. The Bournemouth one at 2 o'clock on a Sunday, I think that's kind of is what it is. Bournemouth away will always be a tough game, but I don't think it particularly helps Liverpool having 12:30 at home on the Saturday and then a few weeks later getting that Fulham game. That Ipswich game. Yeah, do feel free to let me know your thoughts on that one as well. And by the way, if any other comments and questions while we're live for a little bit, feel free to get those. Feel free to let those leave those rather in the comment section below. F. Shamal talking about the transfers says, we are working in the shadows, which I'm fine with. Yeah, I hope you're right. I would guess they are, mate. I don't think they're doing nothing. I think you're right. Victor Munoz signing is so underwhelming, Steve. We need starter quality players, not bench. I think, mate, if he is the only winger signing, I will agree. If Liverpool get another belter forward option, I'm okay with him as being like a rotational piece. So if, for example, Liverpool go and buy a belter right winger and your forward options are, because you've got to remember, Ekitike will come back after Christmas, hopefully. If your forward options are this belter winger and Victor Munoz, Rio Ngamoa and Cody Gakpo, and Alexander Isak, and then Hugo Ekitike a bit later on, I think I'm okay with that one. But you're right, if he's the only forward signing Liverpool make, or another one of maybe a similar level, more of a project player, then I would agree with you. I think Liverpool just needed so many options up front that they had to go and do something. They weren't going to buy, having spent £200 million on forwards last year, they weren't going to go and do it again. So I think you had to have a concession in there that you might just need numbers and stuff like that, and therefore the release clause of a promising young player, I'm okay with it. But we'll see. Listen, he could be an absolute belter. We'll wait and see. I know he can play. He plays on the left. He's versatile. He can play on the right. He's mainly on the left, but again, we've got loads of those. He can even do a bit of centre forward. I'm not sure that's going to be where he goes, but the fact that he is a bit more versatile, I'm okay with the sign, and I think that one made sense to me. But I think you need another one. I think you need an absolute belter. Barkler level, like unbelievable forward. If it's not him, who else can you go and get? There's options out there, but I think you need to go and get an absolute belter as well, and then we'll find out. But you are right. If it happens to be just that in isolation, I'm with you. I wouldn't be exactly thrilled about it. That is it for today's news show, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening. Loads more content coming for you today at Redmen. If you haven't already, we've got a podcast out on Monday. Dan is speaking to Lewis Steele later. That'll be available as well. Go and download the Redmen Plus app. Go and check out all that good stuff. But for now, I'm going to say thanks for joining me. See you all next time.